So good to be here with you today. And this topic, oh my gosh, giving feedback and this idea of it. I think it's important. Here's how I see this idea of feedback. Feedback is more than just feedback. It's not like giving just reviews. It's communication. Here's the reality: is that the one thing that I can tell you from the years of my journey is that the more and more I have been able to improve my ability to communicate, the more success I've had, the more fulfillment I've had, the more connection I've had, the more impact I've had. How I want to frame this conversation today from my session is the idea of crucial conversations. And these crucial conversations will come in various forms, various colors, various ways, various contexts. But the idea of a crucial conversation is the ability for us to be able to have a productive conversation that moves people forward for the betterment of whatever the situation is. So it's a productive conversation that moves people forward for the betterment of a situation. And that's how I look at crucial conversations. The problem is that too often crucial conversations are they're difficult. They're challenging. They're confronting maybe. And so we tend to not have them. And we tend to not have them for a couple reasons. I want to hit on those, and I want to talk about what's at stake, okay? The first is this, is that a lot of times we avoid the critical conversations, the crucial conversations, because there's fear of conflict. I just don't want conflict. I just literally, before I had to get on here, and I don't like doing it this way, I had to send an email to a contractor that I had to let go because they weren't performing, and they were supposed to get me stuff that I needed on a time critical, and they have not responded in 5 days. So I had to send a rather pointed email, but not disrespectful. People will be in fear of conflict, and they'll let something like that go or fester. They'll not have crucial conversations because it's emotionally uncomfortable. You know, you're going to have a conversation with someone that might be difficult. So the angst and the emotions you feel keep you from doing it. The other reason that they'll avoid it is uncertainty of the outcome, uncertainty of the response, uncertainty of the reaction. Okay. We're afraid, or maybe we're afraid to damage the relationship. If I say this, then they're not going to like me. They're not going to be my friend, or I'm going to impair the connection. Some people won't have it because you say, I just don't have the skills. So having crucial conversations, being able to give good feedback, being able to communicate is a learnable skill. It's a skill, but we can't learn it. Like riding a bike, I can't read about riding a bike in a book and think that I got to ride the bike. I got to get on the bike and ride. So we have to run the miles. We got to do that. The other reason I think people will do this is they'll hope that it'll just resolve itself. Okay. And sometimes it does, but in certain situations, we got to move things along. So those are the reasons we avoid it. But let's just talk about what is at stake. I'm going to go to my iPad for this. I want you to start to understand what's at stake here, because if we're not careful with this, what ends up happening, and we don't have the crucial conversations, we end in a situation where we have misunderstandings and misalignments that can get blown out of proportion. You know, the tendency for human nature, I don't get it, but because I have this same tendency too, I can go speak to 1,000 people, okay? And I'm speaking a lot these days because of my upcoming book, but I can go to speak to a lot of people. And yet, if evaluations come in, let's say there's 1,000 people in the room, 800 wonderful valuations, and 5 they go, I didn't like him. I didn't like his slides. I didn't like the way he looked. I didn't like his voice. I didn't like, whatever it is. And what do I focus on? The 5. And yet the reality is that's not the case. And so when we ignore it, what's at stake is we misinterpret, we misunderstand, there's misalignments. The other thing is when we're dealing with teams or a group or leading a group, if we don't have crucial conversations, it will decrease morale. Because everyone on the team, in all likelihood, sees what's going on, but they see that you are not having the conversations, which means in their eyes that you're not leading, which means in their world, they're not safe, okay? Or it ends up leading to reduced performance. And the other side of this is that part of having these conversations isn't to criticize. In fact, it's not to criticize ever. Remember I said it's to better a situation. If we're unwilling to have the crucial conversations, whether it's in business, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in negotiation, whether it's in any of these arenas, what ends up happening is people start to stagnate. They don't grow because we're allowing them to just stay in that spot. We want them to grow. And if we leave it alone too long, what happens is that we have escalated conflicts. Conflicts actually get blown out of proportion. Conflicts will get blown out of proportion if we're not careful. Now, I just saw a note from Abraham. I hope I pronounced that right. Can I elaborate on reduced performance? Yeah, what happens is this. If morale goes down, okay, or people feel unsafe, or people see someone else doing something that they think that there should be a conversation around to stop or move, or you see another team member that isn't carrying their weight, but no one's doing anything about it, what ends up happening is that everyone starts to shrink. Everyone starts to pull back. And they say, well, they're getting away with it, or they're not, then it's not that important. And what ends up happening is we end up with reduced performance. We get reduced output. We get reduced quality. We get reduced productivity. Those kinds of things will happen in that kind of environment if we're not careful. And then the last thing that's at stake is this. Is that there's increased turnover. People get unhappy and they say, this is not the place I want to swim. This is not the place I want to be in. This isn't the place that I want to play. But there's also some positive things that are at stake. When we do this right, when we get it right, now all of a sudden you have people that are growing. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have the conversations and they're going to go, okay, I got this. And they're willing to grow. I have these conversations with the team that works with me all the time. And you know what? They have them with me. They ask things of me. And when they ask things of me, I can give back. They force me to grow.
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.